10 things to never search on Google. In our free time, when we're surfing over the internet, we might find some stuff that is creepy enough to make us regret using the internet in the first place. Today, we've compiled a list of 10 worst statements to search on Google. Make sure you never dare to run them over the internet, else they'll steal your sleep and cause some serious trouble. This stuff is terrifying enough to make one regret his decisions. Before starting it up, let me remind you again, in case you're thinking to search it afterwards, then leave it right here, because I don't want to be the one giving you trauma. Let's get into it. Botfly removal. First on our list is botfly removal. This term itself sounds too creepy, but once you search it, things get really bad. It's still one of the creepiest videos I've ever found over the internet. After running it through Google, you'll find a video. In that video, you can see a guy removing botfly maggots from himself. It might not sound as terrifying as I mentioned earlier, but what makes it so scary is how botfly maggots work. It's an endoparasite that eats flesh while being under the skin. So basically, you'll be seeing a guy removing parasites living under his skin. Whenever it comes in front of my eyes, I still get soul-shivering chills. Mouth larva. Back in 2014, when I was compiling some data over larva, instead of moth larva, I accidentally typed mouth larva. I couldn't unsee the results that came out of it. Instead of finding moth larva, I stumbled upon pictures of animals and humans with larvae crawling out of their mouths. It was one of the initial phases of the body's decomposition. Whenever I see a random dead body, I couldn't help imagining it without larvae in their mouths. If you engulf something accidentally, watching this video is still the best way to vomit it out. Ed Gain leather. Second last on the list is Ed Gain leather, commonly known as the Butcher of the Plainfield. He's a mad killer from the United States who operated during the mid-20th century. He was suspected of 9 murders and dissection of nearly a dozen corpses. He majorly operated between 1947 and 1957. Once his home was searched, there were lamps and furniture made from human skin. This doesn't stop here, as skin-made bodysuits were also found there. And this is what you'll get once you search the name on Google. The pictures are still there and suddenly appear on the screen to give users a lifelong trauma. Blue waffle. Wait, what's a waffle doing in a list of terrible searches? For Google, it was a great sweet dish until 2010. In 2010, someone introduced a fake disease as a joke and named it blue waffle disease. The name is the least creepy thing about this disease. What makes it even more bad is the way it was associated with infected female genitalia. It is one of the most senseless things associated with a human's body. This hoax got great hype on April 1st, 2013, when New Jersey's councilwoman stated it as a disease that is 10 times more dangerous than AIDS. She fell for this joke as she didn't know it's an April Fool campaign running over the internet. Hairy tongue. I've got a question for you. If I ask you to imagine random body parts with hairs, would you ever dare to imagine a hairy tongue? I know the reaction is, nah man, stop this bullshit. But I once dared to search for this on Google. The next thing that I did was to exit the screen as soon as possible, because all of it was filled with tongues covered in hair. It was as creepy as anything could be. After that day, I never dared to search it again. Belly button bugs. If you couldn't restrict yourself from searching these things, I permit you to search the above ones, but never dare to go for belly button bugs. Scientifically, there's a colony of thousands of myriad bacteria that seeks refuge from UV rays, detergents, and soaps. So they prefer to stay in your belly button. But things get really fishy when you click at the images icon. You'll get to see bugs and worms coming out of belly buttons. If you saw that once, you're never going to forgive yourself for that torture. One lunatic, one ice pick. As we ascend further on the list, we've got a video of a kid named Luca. If you search the term one lunatic, one ice pick on Google, this video will appear in front of you. You'll find this kid tying his victim to a bed and stabbing with an ice pick countless times like a beast. The way the serial killer operates looks like something straight out of a scary movie. If you think that's it, you're completely wrong, because what comes next is worse than this, as you'll find him having a feast over the victim's body organs. This is such a horrible scene, and I have no idea why it hasn't been removed from Google. But it does ensure one thing, that no other creature could be as deadly as humans could. Eel Girl. As we're heading towards the end, this search is a must for this list. I know you're curious to search these terms, but believe me on this one, and don't dare to search this one, because it's not a horrible but most disgusting video to be found on the internet. Let me explain why. As your search results load, a video will appear in front of you where you'll find two Japanese women surrounded by eels. Then they will put these in each other's butts through plastic tubes so they don't get shockwaves. If you're ready to throw up, wait a bit, because after doing this, they take those eels out and start eating. Yes, now you're ready to throw up, as I can't talk about this anymore. Baby hamburger. Finally, we are at the last term of this list. At last, we've got the term baby hamburger. After listening to it, you might be thinking about a tiny, creepy-looking burger, but the results that you get on Google are completely parallel, as they'll make you hate yourself for being a human. Because this term is associated with a recording of a baby being cooked alive in an oven. Those screams from the oven will never let you have a nice sleep for months. This is something that a human mind would never accept. This video is now mainly associated with the dark web, but still some users searching it on Google stumble over it somehow, which shows that its remains could still be found on the internet. Google.com. Lastly, never search google.com on your search engine, because you'll end up opening another search page for no reason. Yes, this was for recovering from the traumas because I didn't want to go to bed while reliving these traumas. Anyways, that's it for today. Hopefully you'll not dare to search for these terms, as I've already told you about the consequences. Hopefully you like this video and it would be beneficial for you. Do give it a like and hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to click the bell icon to get the latest updates. In the end, for God's sake, don't search for these terms, as I've already suffered from the after effects.